But when you do these models of decentralized generations, you get the capex at the same time, but you get the revenue at the double of it, to 80 or to $100 per megawatt hour. So your return of investment gets, instead of 10%, to 20 to 25%.
How you see DeFi fitting into all of this? I mean, do you think that DeFi's got has got a place in this type of financing?
Yeah, for sure.
I personally do. I personally do. I think that
I think that DeFi is a total game changer when it comes to financing energy projects, because it opens doors to potential new world of capital, making easy to finance projects without relying on slow traditional banking system. But tokenization our energy assets on platforms like Palmyra Pro, we can renewable energy production into digital assets that investors can trade, boosting liquidity and confidence in the market. Bottom line, I think that less reliance on old school financing, more access to capital, and smoother and more efficient way to invest in renewable energy for big institutions or part of the local community. There's something about the value that it's very important to everybody to understand. When you have a big plan, a big solar plant, $200 million investment, there's two main rates or two main part of the equation that you have to see: the capex, the value of the capex, and the revenue rate. Those two parts of the equation defines the return on investment or the net value of the project. When you have a big project, your construction cost is $1 million per megabyte, and you get reward in LATAM in average in $50 per megawatt hour, and gives you a return on investment of 10%. But when you do these models of decentralized generations, you get the capex at the same time, but you get the revenue at the double of it, to 80 or to $100 per megawatt hour. So your return of investment gets, instead of 10%, to 20 to 25%. So it's very interesting for investors, but they have to have a tool in order to accountability of what is decentralized, and you have to have the means of DeFi models in order to inject capital on these projects. Both things go together. The real world asset opportunity in renewable energy are there. We have to continue working in bringing those worlds that appear to be separate work together, and I think that it will gonna be a game changer.
Yeah, I really do think so. I think that, well, first of all, one of the main reasons why, we came up with the idea for Endeavors being a very pivotal part of our ecosystem was because, and again, for this particular program, I try not to really kind of, show our products too much, but I think it's really in context here because, really, it's all about access, and it's all about access to opportunities that were just not available to the average retail investor before. The average retail investor, the closest they could really get to that was to go and buy some solar panels and sell their electricity to the power company, as long as the power company buys it from them. and at whatever
Mhm.
rate the power company buys it
Mhm.
from them. The average person that does not have access or did not have access to something like this, where you can have these really interesting and complex financial tools built around a decentralized power grid that is sustainable, that is environmentally friendly, and it's viable, because that's also one of my main objections, I guess you could say, to anything that throughout the years, that was thrown at us that was supposedly, environmentally friendly. I was always saying that we will eventually switch to electric cars. We will eventually switch more and more, move more and more away from, older ways of generating power, like coal, even nuclear,
Mhm.
and more towards solar, more towards, all these other means that are more sustainable, I guess, in a global environmental type of way. If you want to, even, regardless of what your stance is on global climate change and things like that, just in general, it, it setting up these systems that are more advanced. The main thing is that I've always stuck to, and I still believe, is that it has to be economically viable. You cannot force
Mhm.
these things on people. You
No,
cannot mandate that, no, you have to have a solar panel on your house or else you
no,
get fined,
no,
or
no.
else you just don't get, people are not going to like
That's
that.
it.
You're
Yeah,
going to face
yeah,
that
yeah.
wall,
You
and you're
you
going to,
have a
and in the end, you're not going to get the world to do this. So in the end, people will find a way to do what they want to do. So those countries that you're going to force to do things a certain way. You're going to have other countries going to say, oh, you know what? In this country, you're not going to have to do this stuff in this way, and the business is going to move there, because that's how free market works. But really, with these technologies, what I think is happening is what you're doing, Maximiliano, is really making them economically viable. This makes sense. Why would I do this? This makes sense to me because, look,
Mhm.
you can, number one, decouple yourself from this juggernaut of these traditional power companies, which are always a pain in the ass. Doesn't matter where you go, they're always a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
In the US, they were the same. Out here in Japan, they're the same. They're always the same. It's always a headache dealing with them. See if you can decouple from them. And even with the solar panels that I have on my house, I'm still attached to the power company because I just don't generate enough electricity with my panels. Now, granted, I could, but then that's a bigger investment, and it just never stops, But and then what? What am I? Okay, so I'm saving some extra money on power, and then what? And so that's why I think it is so important to have solutions like yours, and to really kind of give people an understanding of this. It's not just about saving money on power. It's also about independence. It's also about these financial tools that are generated from this that you already should have had at your disposal. You just didn't know it. You just didn't know that
Mhm.
this is something you already had at
Mhm.
your disposal
Mhm.
because of the way that system is structured. So now you have this. Now you also plug in DeFi into this, and you give easier access to capital, and like I said, without really shilling anything that we have too much. Endeavor was really built around that to give those opportunities to people.